welcome back. We're not doing Kubrick this time. We're still doing deep dives though, director dives. And
Yeah.
this time we're doing PTA. I think he is considered one of the greats. I would consider him one of the best out there.
Oscar winners and nominees across the board, right?
Definitely a unique
Accomplished.
filmmaker and very
Prolific.
precise. Yeah,
Mhm,
definitely. He's
mhm.
made his mark. So let's get into it, and we're starting with his first film. This one's pretty interesting. I didn't When I was watching it, I did feel some of this stuff that I was reading about where he had like a 2.5 hour cut, but the studio kind of just
Mm,
chewed it up and
Hmm.
pumped out this hour and a half
okay.
cut of Hard
Yeah.
Eight. That is what we're be talking about, by the way. Directed and written by Paul Thomas Anderson. Um, but yeah, I kind of wish I would have seen his cut because I feel like it would have been
Yeah.
more PTA, and
Yeah.
that's why I feel like my main takeaway is there's potential here because I know what he has done and what he can do, and I feel he gets that freedom later on in life when he
Yeah.
starts picking up steam here. But
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. Hard Eight. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, knowing that, that there's like so much just left on the cutting floor, I could see that. I felt like there were pieces missing in this movie. I think that's why, like, knowing that,
Yeah,
it's like that makes a lot of sense to me now because there was just like character beats I felt like we were missing and some
right,
information that we weren't getting for some
right.
of like Jimmy and some of John's like progression and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm on the same boat. I think I would like to see that because I think it would have one been more unique and just a better overall movie, like more
Right.
cohesive story. So yeah, I
Like
definitely would have
the
liked
the
that.
seeds are there. It's just
Right. But yeah,
Yeah.
there were parts that I liked about it. There were like characters that I liked, and like I think the kind of like where we start and where we're left is like we made it there, like mission accomplished, and like it makes sense.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, not 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 like the shot, like I don't know, the shock out of the gate I was like ready for or expecting, I guess more
yeah.
so.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah, that's my general, I don't know, impression of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only seen a couple PTA movies, and I'm coming into these directors' dives with the opinion that I like PTAs of what I've seen, but I haven't been given enough to think that this is a prestige filmmaker that deserves all the hype he gets. Maybe I'm off base and I haven't seen his huge ones like There Will Be Blood and stuff like that. So and Boogie Nights too. So I'm excited
Mm.
for that one. I've seen The Master though, and that is his best film that I could say I've seen.
It's
Great
pretty good.
film.
Yeah.
That's a prestige film, but some of the other ones I've seen kind of just they're great films. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think maybe he's just not my brand of filmmaker fully. This one, Hard Eight, um, obviously amateurish. Like there's missteps. I think the story chunk problem is a very valid problem
Yeah.
for this movie.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would have if there were added beats in here. I don't know if it would have saved this movie for me fully either. I think this
Yeah.
movie just has flaws inherent, but it was cool for me because I actually watched his short films that he did, the Dirk Diggler story and Coffee and or Cigarettes and Coffee.
Hmm.
And this movie, Hard Eight, is basically like an extension of Cigarettes and Coffee because it
Yeah.
has Philip
Mm.
Baker Hall and he like talks to a gambler in a diner, and that's just like it's like sets
Uh,
off this movie to like
that was like a
become
proof of concept type thing.
definitely. And Cigarettes and Coffee, the short, I didn't really think that was the best short. So I think this sprung from a place of not the best execution.
Yeah.
Whereas the Dirk Diggler story, the short film, I thought was like fucking. I was like, holy shit, he made this at such a young age. This is insane.
Just
And
wait.
I mean, that's going to be Boogie Nights because he's going to.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready for that one because I think that's just an overall better movie and idea.
Yeah.
And this one was just kind of I've said it before. It's amateurish, I would say, but it's not to say it's a very
Man,
good
it's
first film for him.
Yeah.
It is, I would
right,
say.
right.
In
It's
that
I was
same
like, there's still
vein,
good work being done here.
That
Like
there's
yes.
it's
moments of
pretty
peak.
impressive of like
Right.
yeah,
Hmm.
stuff going
In that same vein, when you say amateur, that's one of the things that when I was watching it, all the tracking shots he was doing, I'm like, all right,
on.
he's
Yeah.
just warming up because this just translates into like Boogie Nights, where it opens up with. I don't want to go into that. We'll talk about that next week. But like,
Mhm.
this is what it felt like. It was like this is him kind of seeing what he's capable of, and then putting
Yeah.
those validating and verifying those capabilities in his next film.
I see. I can see.
Where
Yeah,
that one's
okay.
more like feels like,
Yeah.
all right, now he's breaking onto the scene. This guy is known, and people are seeing that. Granted, he takes a lot from some of the greats like Scorsese, a lot from Scorsese with his ideas and filmmaking, but like he makes it his own. I mean, everybody's going to take those inspirations. You know, it's just
Right.
kind of
Oh yeah.
inherent,
Oh
going
yeah.
to
It's
happen.
just natural.
For
Yeah.
sure.
But
This
it's
one.
this is just feels like his ramp up to that. Is all.
I can definitely
see
see that. Yeah, yeah, because I mean, just like you're saying, some of those track, like it felt. I was curious because I've only seen the Master and There Will Be Blood, and so I'm kind of in a similar boat with you, Matt, where I don't like this one. I was like ready to kind of see the groundwork of like what his style and like what his like kind of what his his filmmaking language is. Um, I think he just likes like the grimy, like there's some gritty, storytelling and gritty kind of like flawed characters, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it just this was like, and this movie has that like with Jimmy and John and like our main guy and dude Philip Seymour Hoffman making a fun fun
love that
character.
dude,
This
man.
character was so funny.
Shakalaka-doo.
Shakalaka-doo, shakalaka-doobie.
Even as a douchebag, he's just so fucking captivating.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so interesting too to see that he starts with these actors that he's worked with, and then he just like takes them through all his films.
Yeah, Philip Baker
Yeah.
Hall, the main
Yeah.
dude. He's
Yeah.
in Cigarettes and Coffee, and he's I liked him in this. Like he's playing like the swanky kind of like
Yeah.
aficionado role, but then it turns out
Yeah.
he's kind of just grimy and shitty. He can't get $6,000 together by the end of the movie. Like it's
Yeah, he's perpetuating this hard eight. Like Philip Seymour, like his back, like literally watches him lose on the hard eight bet. Jimmy at the end is just sitting there like blowing his money on craps. It's like he's like. By the end of the movie, I enjoyed that. Like I was like that nailed it. I was like the cycle of like some of these characters that he has involved himself in. It's
he's
like
back in the diner. It seems like he was
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
in a similar situation at the beginning of the movie when he was
Right.
which is
Or, like,
a nice
that-
rounding.
that frame of him entering and John's just like not sitting at that door, like at that wall anymore near the end, and then he's just at the blood on his cuff. This dude just like casually with blood on his hands. After blowing Jimmy away at the end, like.
Mhm.
So like yeah, I think that they did his arc kind of justice, but like everything, some of the ancillary stuff, it's like could have tightened up some
Yeah.
stuff.
I feel like the Jimmy and Gwyneth Paltrow storyline just I don't know. I didn't like that at all. That really brought it down for me. I felt like
it did like
the
send
rush
it
kind of
some
sloppy.
into some lulls for me. I was like,
Well,
surprised
that
in
one
those-
specifically
those-
is the one story chunk where I'm like, how do they know each other? And
Yeah.
they're now married and going off
Right.
in the day they've met. It was like almost
Right.
seemed like it
Yeah.
was like that was the big leap for me that kind of I couldn't make that leap, like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
But
I feel that.
honestly, Gwyneth Paltrow, man, for her to be cast in this, I think was like one of the better pieces of casting.
Mm.
She like portrays a lot of crazy, a lot of mental unwellness, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this speaks to Gwyneth Paltrow, but I think it was like very believable, like
Yeah.
like the neediness and like the weird like psychoticness. Like a lot of actors and actresses try to play that, but
Yeah.
for Gwyneth Paltrow, it seemed pretty effortless. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was just me, but
Yeah.
It
No,
just- it
she was. Yeah. She was,
Didn't make sense. As soon as they said they were married, that's when I kind of was like, "What? Like this is
yeah.
this is what you want to throw in here?"
yeah.
And granted, we
Yeah.
could have been missing something because I mean, an hour or so was left on the floor, but
Yeah. Right.
I just yeah.
We missed the shotgun wedding footage, the actual whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought
But-
like the movie like it was like trying to set stakes and stuff pretty like it did okay at that. I think the scene that kind of like highlights a lot of flaws but also a lot of successes of this movie is when they get into the motel room and he's being explained like how they have the hostage and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's like got the most meat to this movie, but like it's just like the bouncing around of it doesn't seem like it's fully cohesive or it's like they haven't taken like a second pass, honestly, to like just punch that shit up. Because I don't know, it just felt like it's grasping a little bit, trying to find the meat of the stakes situation that they just set up, but it's like they're in the room, they got the hostage, and it's like, well, now it's like, what would I actually need to do now? And I don't really know. I just kind of wanted this situation, you know. That's kind of what it feels like a little bit, but
I felt some of like just like the story and the writing deteriorate a little bit in that scene, especially for like John's character, for John C. Riley's character. I was like, this. It just felt like he was just kind of like blubbering through most of that, you know, and like Philip Baker Hall, yeah, right, Philip, yeah,
Yeah.
and it seemed like he was like having to like navigate, dealing with Gwyneth Paltrow's character too, who's incessant and crying and
like that's
all
the
that
hook
stuff.
of it, is like the chaotic nature of it.
It just didn't navigate it greatly in there for me. I feel that, yeah.
I think also a big issue with maybe that scene and most of this movie to me was just the repetitiveness of dialogue. Like, I understand you want like it to be musical kind of, where it's like if you hit here and then you come back, you know, like it's like a sway. It's like when you say, John, look at me, John, like you're trying to like bridge like musicality in your script there, I'd say, but to me, it honestly just sounds like you're playing two notes in a row. And it's like, dude, just play another note. Make it a song, you know? Like, don't just fucking play three notes and then think that, like, music was made after it. That's kind of my metaphor for that, but there's just way too much instant repetitive dialogue in this for it to be, like, believable and, like, good dialogue, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But...
No, I agree. The dialogue did get kind of sloppy, it felt like. And knowing like his other films, it just was like, again, it's just amateur hour. I mean, he's just kind of getting his footing, finding his voice.
When people talk PTA, this is one that people never talk about, you know. So I'm assuming it's just the one that obviously it's his first step, and maybe people just kind of want to get to Boogie Nights, you know, the fucking sexy one. So I'm excited for that one, and I can see why people maybe just kind of like let this one go. So.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, you gotta start. Everyone's gotta start somewhere, and I mean, it's not perfect. It's not great. It's not even like a great movie. But
no, there's only one perfect filmmaker out there, you know. So
who's that?
I was gonna say, why don't you let us in on that one?
I don't know if I want to divulge that information. So.
The audience know.
Sir Quentin.
Oh, of course. Yes, you can read me like a book.
I knew it. I actually got some Tarantino vibes in this movie a little bit too.
I think he was trying to get that with the dialogue, and it just didn't work. That was one of the things I noticed, because you know when Tarantino hit the scene with Reservoir Dogs, everybody tried to make Tarantino's.
They're like, ooh, that's how we write. Okay,
right.
Yeah.
And some people maybe can pull it off better than others. And I feel like with this one, I was feeling that vibe too, of like trying to get that quick,
emulate it,
musical dialogue in there. And
Sam Jackson also didn't help that vibe. You know, like him talking like Tarantino would want him to talk. You know, and talking about like gambling, people like calling 911 while they're gambling or whatever, telling side stories. Like, it definitely shines through kind of some people he's trying to like emulate a little bit.
Yeah. Which is fine, you know, but not as successful. Like I said, there's only one perfect filmmaker.
Right, Kubrick. No, I mean it's fair too. This is what's fun about the director's dives, because I think back to Kubrick's early ones, and now by the end of it, I think Kubrick is one of my favorite filmmakers. But maybe PTA will be too, man. But his early films, Kubrick's early films, are fucking bad. Like and that's just, you gotta fucking make some mistakes and then hit your peak, you know.
Hey, you gotta be bad before you be good. I mean,
or be less good, and then just be better.
Then fail upwards,
always
right?
being better.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to PTAs. I mean, I've seen all but Phantom Thread now, but I'm looking forward to revisiting them and maybe getting a different perspective on a couple of them. But I really enjoy his films moving forward. There's a few in there, like he's not as consistent, I wouldn't say, as some of the filmmakers. But you know, I think there's a lot we could take away. So
I'm
I'm
excited.
really looking forward
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. There's some meat. There's some juicy bits left for
Oh, yeah.
for sure. We're at the tip of the iceberg here. which
Just
is
getting
kind of
started. Yeah, what's our
Yeah.
like we were on a train for Kubrick. Is PTA gonna be like a boat or some shit? Like
A limo, a stretch, I think.
stretch limo for PTA?
Stretch
Wow.
limo. Ah, yes.
I'm getting that vibe, especially with this one. It's got the nice car. What was that? A Buick?
Class.
I
Yeah.
don't even know if that's a nice
Yeah.
car.
Yeah,
So
back
we're
in the
gonna
day.
be riding around town in a limo, and eventually we're gonna be let off. Is that the metaphor we're
Yep.
going? Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Got
let off
some
at the club.
Some
Yeah.
champagne on ice in there. Yeah. Some bubbly.
Eating licorice pizza.
Yeah, so stick around, guys. Thanks for listening this far. If you've seen Hard Eight, you probably understand the gripes that we had. Maybe you loved it. Maybe you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly there's something there because people came back and PTA kind of broke into the scene with this next one that we'll be talking about
I'm
next week.
excited.
Boogie Nights. Yeah, and that one's kind of a big one. So stick around.
Yeah.
Hang with us. These directors' deep dives. And if you're there, you might as well hit that like button if you did like it. And subscribe, if you will, too. Because we got plenty more coming your way. We ain't stopping. This limo doesn't stop until we get to the club.
There we go. Yeah. Nice. It works. It works. It works. Yeah, that's good. It's good.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I'm gonna light a cigarette now, old timer. See, the thing is, I like you, and I'm gonna light a cigarette, and I'm gonna let you have this time to place your bet before I finish lighting this cigarette. And then when I finish lighting, I'm just gonna roll and fuck you. You're laughing at that? I just said fuck you to the man. Jesus Christ. The way you look, I think you know what I'm saying, old timer. I think you do. Jesus Christ, why don't you have some fun? Fun. All right, shaka-laka-doo, shaka-laka-dooby-dooby-doo, shaka-laka-doo. You got a little bit more there. Coming in there, baby. Shaka-laka-doo, baby.